Hi, I'm Shelley Jones. Welcome to Learning Math with Dr. Jones. Our Facebook group will post a daily math lesson Monday through Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time throughout the month of August. So this looks kind of ominous, but I have some integers, some are positive, some are negative. I have a decimal there. I have some mixed numbers. I have some fractions there. So I'm going to change everything to fractions, right? No mixed numbers. I want everything just as either a proper or an improper fraction. It just makes it easier for me to work with. And so that's my decision. And so as you work with these problems, you're going to have to make a decision. You want to change everything to decimals. Remember, that's not what we're encouraging right now, because many times with fractions, you're going to be able to cancel out common factors and many times reduce or, simplify the fraction so that it works better for you. Okay, so first, this is a grouping. This line here is a grouping. So as we're using order of operations, we're going to remember I need to do everything up here. It is as if this whole expression is in a parenthesis. And then, even so, now I have a division, a subtraction, a division, a multiplication. So as I go from here this way, I have to do all the divisions and multiplications first, and then I come back and do that subtract last. So let's do this. Okay, so first I have 15, and I'm going to make 15 a 15 over 1. I'm going to make it a whole number fraction divided by, instead of 3 3/4, I'm going to change that to an improper fraction. So here I'm going to say 3 times 4 is 12. 12 plus 3 is 15 over 4. So I have 15 over 1 divided by 15 over 4. But when I divide fractions, I'm going to actually multiply by the reciprocal. So I'm going to change 15 first. And I want to actually move that up a bit, because I feel like I'm going to need a lot of space. So I had 15 over 1 divided by 15 over 4. And now I'm going to change that to 15 over 1 times 4 over 15. So I'm multiplying by the reciprocal. And now I'm going to cancel out a common factor of 15. Remember, even though these look across like this, when I multiply, and I'll actually do that out for you so you can see. When I multiply this, 15 times 4 over 1 times 15. Remember, when you multiply fractions, you're multiplying the numerators, and then you're multiplying the denominators. But I could even do this, 4 times 15 and 1 times 15. So I use the commutative property because of 15 times 4, I can change the order and write it as 4 times 15. And then here you can see that I can cancel out that common factor of 15. So even though over here, the way I did it before was I did this. 15 goes into 15 once, 15 goes into 15 once. Remember, you can actually write it out if it makes it more comfortable for you to see that common factor of 15. Sometimes it's not the same, like that's 15 over 15 is really times 1. But it could have been, let's say, 5 over 15, right? And the 5 would have canceled out. And the 5, I could take a factor of 5 out of 15 and get a 3. So that's what I'm doing when I do that. So anyway, so my end result is 4 over 1. So I did all of that to get a 4 over 1. So I have 4 over 1. So all I did was this so far. All I did was that part so far. Minus, 10 and a half is really 10 times 2 is 20, plus 1 is 21 over 2. I can't do that subtraction yet, though, because I have a division and a multiplication, and division and multiplication has a higher level than addition and subtraction. So I'm going to keep going. I think we call it germ DOS. If you look in your book in the introduction of Unit 1, you'll see the germ dot. So we do all of the groupings, and we do the exponents and roots, and then we do the multiplication and division, and then we do addition and subtraction. So far I have 4/1 minus 21/2 divided by, remember, instead of 1.5 or 1 5/10, I want 1 1/2. So here I have 1 1/2 times 3/14. But I'm going to go even further. Instead of 1 1/2, I want to change that to 3/2. 1 times 2 is 2, plus 1 is 3 more. Now, why do I do that? It's something that I learned a long time ago, and I still remember it, so that's the way I changed the mixed number to an improper fraction. But just so you can remember, the reason I do this, I say 1 times 2 is 2, because if I have 1 whole, that means I have at least 2 halves. That means 2/2. That 1 whole means I have 2/2 plus 1 more half. So I have 2 halves plus 1 more half is 3 halves. So if I rewrite this, I get 4/1 minus 21/2 divided by 3/2. Remember, this becomes 3 halves. 2 halves plus 1 more half is 3 halves. Or you can do like me, 2 times 1 is 2, plus 1 more is 3, 3 halves times 3/14. I'm writing each one of these steps out so you can see it, but when you show your work, you can do it the way you feel most comfortable. But if you show all of your steps, then I can see what you did, and if there's partial credits to be had, you can get that if you make a small mistake. So when I start back from the left, the next thing that I can do is that division, right? So I can do 21 halves divided by 3 halves. So let's see what I get there. So I have 21 halves times 2/3. Why do I do that? Because when I divide with a fraction, I multiply by the reciprocal. So let's see what I have there. So when I do that, I can take out this common factor of 2. 2 goes into 2 once, 2 goes into 2 once. Or I can say 2/2 simplifies to just 1, or 1/1. And then I multiply that. Let's see, I get, I'm going to take out a factor of 3. I like doing this. 3 goes into 3 once, and 3 goes into 21 7 times. Now I get a nice answer. 7 times 1 is 7. 1 times 1 is 1. All right, so I have 7/1. Now that's just this answer for this answer here. Where was I? Here. For that answer here. So I'm going to rewrite what I have so far. I have 4/1 minus 7/1 times 3/14. It's looking a lot nicer. So I'm going to move over there and finish this. So 4/1 minus 7/1 times 3/14. Okay, so now I have this, and the next thing I want to do, I have to do multiplication before I do subtraction. So I can cancel out a factor of 7. And so 7 goes into 7 once, and 7 goes into 14 twice. Okay? And now I'm going to multiply that out. 1 times 3 is 3. And 1 times 2 is 2. So I have 3 halves there. And I already have my 4/1 minus 3 halves. Okay? Now, I mean, there's a couple of ways you can think about this. I mean, this is pretty simple. I can just make this out of 2. I can get a common denominator of 2. But I could just also think about it and say, wow, let's see. 3 halves means 1 1/2, right? So if I have 4 and I want to subtract 1 1/2, let's see, 4 minus 1 is 3. And then minus another half, I'm at 2 1/2. So let's see if that's what we get. So if I want to make a common denominator of 2, 3 halves already have that common denominator. So I have to change this numerator. I have to find an equivalent fraction. 4 over 1 is equal to what over 2? All right, let's see. 1 times 2 is 2. So 4 times 2 is 8. And 8 halves minus 3 halves equals 5 halves. What does 5 halves equal? 1.5. Okay, I mean, excuse me, 2.5. Okay, and that's it. I mean, it was long and drawn out. Oh, I'm not done actually yet. It was long and drawn out, but here we have it. And you know what? I'm showing the 2.5 because I want to remind you that when we did it this way and when we did the thinking, when we just thought it through, thinking our way, we found that we had 2.5, right? But I actually want to leave it as 5 halves because my next thing is I have 5 halves over 0.001, but I'm going to write that as a fraction. So let's see, tenths, hundredths, thousandths. So I have 1 thousandths. I can write that as 5 halves divided by 1 over 1,000. But when I divide, I multiply by the reciprocal. So 5 halves times 1,000 over 1. And I can cancel out some things. I can cancel out a common factor of 2. 2 goes into 2 once. And 2 goes into 1,000. Let's see, 2 times 500 is 1,000. And now I can multiply across. 5 times 500. Let's see, 5 times 5 is 25. 2 zeros over 1. And my final answer is 2,500 or 2,500. And so I mean, look at this. It was long and drawn out, but I wanted you to think through it because most of your problems might not be this long and drawn out. But at the same time, there's enough there that you can think through a lot of the properties, a lot of the rules. It's practice. That's what it is. It's practice. Okay. So that's why I wanted to do this one. So that's it. That's all for now. Tomorrow we'll review for the test and we'll have the test on Thursday instead of on Wednesday. Bye-bye for now.